podcast that we do with a bunch of our friends. We've got Tyler from Sluts and AKs. We've got Scotty and Amber from Home Base Tattoos. We've got Kilauea from Big Island. He's got Ohana Block. And then we've got Natalie. She is co-owner of Three Eyed Art Collective, and she is the best piercer in the world, hands down. And today we're going to talk about a few things for tattoos. A lot of us are tattoo artists. Again, as I just mentioned, Natalie is a piercer. We've got shop owners, and then we have Tyler from Sluts and AKs who loves tattoos, has a lot of them, and is just all around gangster. So his opinion matters. And so with that being said, we're going to start today with apprenticeships, how you get them, what we did to get them, and kind of how to go about that. I think I want to start with Killa. He's our vet. He's our daddy to all of this. He's the smartest man we know. So how did you get your always? How did you get your apprenticeship, and what were the steps that you took to get that going?
It was like the old school, the pretty typical, all the spooky shit you hear, and I ended up getting into a biker shop out in Colorado, and a friend of mine had suggested the shop, and sort of a cousin of mine, so I went to the shop and kind of talked to these folks. At that time, I was kind of scratching out the health and whatnot. So once I kind of seen what was going on over there, they put me under their wing and kind of was teaching me stuff, but I kind of advanced faster than the other apprentices that were there, and so they kind of cut me loose a little earlier than most. And I just started working and doing things I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did, right?
Actually, let me stop you real quick with that. Yeah. When you mean kind of let you loose sooner than the others, were you kind of drawing more? Were you did you have a little bit more knowledge with tattoos? Kind of elaborate on that.
They were letting me like tattoo folks that were like friends of mine, family, right? Instead of the public. And when they saw that I was doing stuff a little bit cleaner, a little more careful about what I was attempting on these smaller tattoos, they were like, okay, we can let him, instead of sucking him in for another year, let him here for 2 years, it's going to be almost at a year, we'll just kind of cut him loose, let him just fucking tattoo, And where the other guys were kind of, they had to be strung along a little more because they weren't really picking up on certain things. And we were all kind of picking up on the bad habits around there. But as far as doing the right procedures with the tools we had, I was paying attention a little more and catching on a little faster, if you would, if I would say so, compared to this guy and this guy, where they weren't quite, it wasn't quite clicking.
Okay. Nice, good. Sorry to cut you off. You wanted to finish your thought on that, and then I think I want to see. We'll go to Scotty after you, and then I want to ask Amber's a few questions because she's still learning, right? You're still in there, so we've got a few more things. But we'll let you finish, Killa, and then we'll go on to the next one.
Where did I stop?
They let you off a little bit sooner than the other guys.
Yeah,
so you were doing more.
Yeah, so they let me kind of just tattoo things that were kind of coming in that were small enough for me to handle. And still at the same time, like I said, there were some bad habits there. So it wasn't until after that shop kind of having its own demise, because of ownership and whatnot, it was just a little while after they kind of let me kind of do my thing as to where I was like, okay, I got to leave here. And I had some other artists tell me, you should probably leave this shop and go to one of these shops, or just get somewhere where they're going to teach you the right habits, the right thing. Because, yeah, you're tattooing now, and you know this, and this, but you don't know this, and this. And a lot of it had to do with etiquette, things I just didn't understand, right? It was like, I could do that spider web on the elbow, and this guy can't. I could do this. I know what the fuck I'm doing. What I really didn't I was just taught a certain way, cut loose, and then that was that. And then because of what was going on with their shop and it kind of fell apart, I kind of just went on my own way and kind of felt like, oh, I'm a tattoo artist, I'm grown, I know what's going on. And it wasn't until I experienced other shops and other folks that had a different etiquette, a different knowledge, to where I was like, oh shit, I don't know shit. I don't know what I'm doing.
Nice.
You know,
Nice. Yeah. Well, hold your thought on that because we will get onto etiquette and apprentice kind of mentor stuff as well. So we will get back to that. Scotty, let us hear your story, man. What got you into tattooing, and how did you get your apprenticeship, or did you even have an apprenticeship? I guess is the next.
I did back around like 2009, and it was I got my first tattoo by this guy. He was local. His name is Matthias, and I tattooing was different back then. Like I feel like tattoo artists were all like crazy old school badasses. You know what I mean? And I just like, as soon as I got my first tattoo and I seen this, I was like, oh my god, I love this. And I started talking to him. So he was trying to open up his own shop, but he was going through divorce and there were some issues with money and this and that. And I was like, man, I'll take all my graduation money. We'll open up a shop together and you teach me how to tattoo. And he tried to make it the most old school, like traditional thing possible. We actually at one point went to like the butcher and we got a whole pig, like of skin,
Nice.
and we actually ended up cutting it up into like little pieces, cleaning it, shaving it, and freezing it, and then letting it thaw when I wanted to do a tattoo. It was really gross.
Damn.
um,
That's an old school apprenticeship.
but that didn't, but that didn't like last all that long. Things fell through, and about like I don't know, 2-3 years later, I went through. Oh my God, 2 or 3 people that tried to like kind of take me under their wing, but I had my own stuff going on in life, and it took me a while to get like serious about tattooing, and I was always in shops too. It took me a while till somebody took me under their wing and made me stop and like almost like back up and like relearn for a little bit, and it was rough, but I feel like tattooing was also like back when I started around 2009. There was a lot of gatekeeping, so I feel like I got lucky by getting an apprenticeship back then. Where these days apprenticeships are all over. Like I see shops with multiple apprentices going on. You know what I'm saying? And another thing that was weird is I feel like people are learning how to tattoo now, and that's it. Where like back in the day, I feel like if you learn how to tattoo, you learn how to pierce, and it was just the whole shebang, and you learn how to do it all. Um, from everything from cleaning. I feel like back then cleaning. I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm not sure how I feel about the whole gatekeeping thing. On if it should be as freely educational as it is, or if there should be more rules to it or something. You know what I mean? Like because I don't know. It was like this hidden gem back when I started tattooing. Everybody wasn't just tattooing. It was like a rare thing to come across somebody that had face tattoos, yet alone come across like, you know, the local guy who's doing good owns the shop down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, they weren't a dime a dozen then.
Right.
Yeah. No, they're definitely all over now. I mean, tattoo shops and even
in general,
kids are just learning on Instagram and YouTube. Like it's just crazy. But with what was that? Keep going.
Oh my bad. Well, we also have stuff like Amazon and stuff like that now. I remember when I started tattooing, you had to actually work for a shop to get the supplier to actually even agree to send you anything or mail you anything, or if you had to go to the supply store, you had to prove that you worked at a tattoo shop.
Yeah, you had to have your license, your ID number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this wasn't that long ago.
No.
No, not even a bit. So we're gonna roll on to NatBat, and let's hear about your apprenticeship, because I was there for a decent amount of it, and it was
You were there for
fun.
most of my apprenticeship. It actually happened completely by accident. I was just getting pierced and tattooed at this shop for a while, for a long time, getting a lot of work done, and I was just offered it one day, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything else, so might as well free up my time. And then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the art, the craft, the history, and I think that touches a lot on what Scotty was saying, kind of about like the gatekeeping aspect of it, where I think some of it does need to be gatekept because this is not a for everybody thing. There's a lot of people that get into this and they think that they're rock stars and they're great at it straight off the bat. And while it may look like that, when you can disguise a lot of stuff in like your photos and your social media, you don't actually kind of understand what you're doing to the body. That goes for piercing and tattoo or just body art in general. In my first apprenticeship, it was kind of weird because I think I was taught by an old school person, and I started my apprenticeship 2019, I think. Not that long ago at all. There was a lot of new technology even out and available at that point. I just didn't have access to it.
Question. So with technology, as you were saying, you didn't have at your disposal. Will you kind of elaborate on that? Like what cleaning supplies do you need as a piercer? Because I think a lot of people think like Claire's. I can get pierced at Claire's, and
That's always a fun one to talk about.
Yes. So like, what's kind of the like? What do you need to be a piercer? What's your thing? Just to give some knowledge to the people, so that they know what you mean by technologies.
Yeah. So like when I first started, it was that cheap street shop stuff, that $20 jewelry, that $20 piercing fee. Like it was so easily accessible. It was the stuff you bought off Amazon, and like same thing. There's so much access to that kind of cheaper end stuff now, as to like the stuff that I use and why my piercings are so expensive is, better quality jewelry, scatums, higher quality autoclaves. And now we're kind of recognizing that people kind of need to get paid for reprocessing tools and like being knowledgeable in all of this. Other things, I think, short of just better quality of better stuff you're putting in your body. And I think along with like the mentorship stuff and apprenticeship stuff, mine wasn't that attentive to detail. So when it's important to keep in mind that maybe not everyone needs just one apprenticeship. You need to learn from a multitude of people. So I think you being there for my first apprenticeship was very beneficial because you also pierced. Because I don't think you ever had an official apprenticeship, but when you first started, you were tattooing and piercing as well.
Yeah, just like Scotty was saying, back when you started, you had to. Like, if you wanted a tattoo, you had to learn to pierce. You wanted to learn to pierce, you had to tattoo. That was just the way it was. But now, I mean, I think it's cool. I enjoy my time when I pierce, but I wouldn't do it again now. I am 100% a tattoo artist. I'm not a piercer. What you do now, Nat, is insane. You're curating your attention to detail, and I mean, even watching what Amber's doing, because Amber does pierce as well, and we are getting to her next. But there's just so much that goes on with that, and I agree. I think you have to have more than one mentor, more than one person teaching you, because one person isn't going to teach you just one style. One person isn't going to teach you just one thing. You kind of got to take a little bit of everything that you learn. Amber, the floor is yours. How did you get started?
I was in healthcare for a decade before this, and I went to Alaska with Scotty while he was tattooing, and I was basically forced into it by everybody there. It wasn't really an option. So I was there. I was working at the counter and stuff, and I always just hovered over everybody just because I'm a curious person. I like to learn, like to watch what's going on, and like I would talk to Moto and be like, "Oh, you're doing it this way, and Scotty does it this way. Why are you doing it this way?" And just I don't know, because I was there and that's my life was there revolving around tattooing. Um, and then everybody was saying about how I should get into tattooing, da 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 da. And I was just not really into it. Like honestly, when we went to Alaska the first time, I was like, "Ooh, we'll get our own Airbnb. I don't want to stay at the shop because like I don't know. Like I don't know. I didn't want to hang out at a tattoo shop. Like the tattoo shops around here are kind of sucky and weird and make me totally uncomfortable. Um, so I wasn't sure how this was going to be, but it turned out to be a whole vibe, and I loved it. Um, so I'd hang out there, and the one day Moto was tattooing a client and said, "Amber, put on gloves." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he's like, "No, really, go put on gloves." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You're gonna finish this tattoo." And I was like, "Oh." And he asked the guy, and he's like, "No, that's cool. Like, go for it. That's a cool story. Whatever. I get to say how this is where this bitch started her tattooing career." So I did it. I finished the tattoo, and I realized I liked it. That was like, I want to tattoo something else. Like, I was making dots and whatever, but like, let me do some real shit now, because like, how does this work?
Yeah.
So then I really just kept on kind of watching and whatever from October to March. And then March, I was at a convention with Scotty, and my sister was there, and she's like, "Well, why don't you do like your first real tattoo?" And I was like, "All right, send it." So I don't know, I tattooed her. It wasn't too bad. I had like the lettering god watching me do it. He was making fun of how I was stretching her skin because I was like going like this to stretch it instead of like using my hands. But like I didn't really, I don't know. That's what felt comfortable, and I didn't know how to hold machine, and I was like shaky as shit. And I was in a convention with like fucking flocks watching me. So it was really,
I remember that.
it was nerve wracking. But it came out all right, and it wasn't too bad. Then from there, we went to a shop. They wanted me to do tooth gems. I was working at the counter again, and still I was going to practice tattooing, but I didn't start yet. I don't know. I did tooth gems, and then I started balls to the wall. My first tattoo was a big chest piece.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was like what, my third or fourth. Like I tattooed myself. I tattooed my friends. I tattooed my family. That started probably, I don't know, April, something like that, April, May. And then come June, Scotty and I opened a shop together, and I went and did an apprenticeship and learned to pierce. I had learned tooth gems that already prior back at the other shop, and I started tattooing more often. I posted on Facebook, "Hey, does anybody want a free tattoo?" And I got like 5 million people messaging me and whatever else, and I picked a few that I wanted to do. And I did them, and actually, funny story is just today, some dude that I did one of those free tattoos on tagged me in a post of his friends, like, "Hey, I'm looking for a tattoo artist. Where should I go?" And he said, "Hey, check out Amber Zavorsky. She did fire. I just got my last tattoo there." And the dude was like, "Okay, PM me a pic of the tat." And now, remind you, this is like one of my first few tattoos. Like, I can only imagine what it looks like compared to what I can do now. And dude, man, hit me up and it's like, "Yo, I want a whole black and gray octopus down my arm with the tentacles wrapping around my arm." And I'm like, "All right, so that's my next project."
Yeah, you guys are doing a lot. You and Scotty are really kicking ass, man. I mean, it's cool watching you guys.
So they were saying about like how he traveled to other shops and realized how like different things were and whatever. Like for me, I feel like I traveled all over the freaking country before I even started tattooing, looking at all these different shops, talking to all these different people, being around a ton of different tattoo artists from really all over the country, the world, whatever. And so I feel like I don't know, I had it backwards. So when it came time for me to like open my shop, I'm like, okay, well, this shop did this and that was great. This shop did that and that did not work. This shop did this, this, and this, and that was great. And then we just combined it all. But like my whole thing with opening our own shop was like how I said I didn't want to hang out in the tattoo shop to begin with. Like there's a lot of weird vibes in a lot of different tattoo shops and stuff. So like we try to kind of make like a family friendly environment that it's not weird. We're not like, I don't know, badass bikers or anything. We're just normal people tattooing and piercing. And like it's cool because people have been bringing like their little kids in to get their ears pierced and stuff. Because of a lot of people around here have the minimum age of like 4 or 5, something like that. But for me, I'll do it. I leave that up to the parents, like if that's what you want to do, because otherwise you're just going to the piercing pagoda and you're gonna fuck your kids' ears up. Like we do a whole hour song and dance and whatnot, but I've been piercing like all these little kids' ears, so like that's cool that we have like that family friendly environment because tattoo shops were not like that. Like when Scotty would say about when he started as a tattoo apprenticeship, like the windows were blacked out. You couldn't even see in a tattoo shop. And now here we are with like kids in our tattoo shop.
No, their tattoo shops aren't what they used to be. I think Killa's probably seen the most of them. But shops used to be ghetto back in the day, man. It was bikers and gangsters and
Pretty rough, right?
yeah, very, very, very rough. And what's crazy for me is you can still find them today.
Oh, yeah.
They're still them crazy.
They're dying out. They're still around.
Yeah, slowly, but yeah, they're still around. I didn't have an apprenticeship. I didn't have one. I paid $2,000 to a dude to teach me how to tattoo, and he dipped out with my money and went to jail. And and so after that, I taught myself. I just started tattooing. Honestly, I just picked up a machine and went for it. I lied my way into my first 2 shops. The very first shop was really ghetto. That shop was like, it wasn't even a real shop. I don't know how this dude even got access to owning a building. But that was my second shop. I think I was there for about a year and a half. And it was a ghetto shop. I was better than the owner, and I was only like 3 years in. But I had bought I got a kit when I was like 14. I started young. But that's not necessarily saying that as like that's a path or an option. I wish I would have gotten an actual apprenticeship. I wish I would have got taught by somebody, because everything that I know now and what I can do now, I learned within the last 5 years. I'm going on close to 13, 14 years with it under my belt. And only the last 5 years I've actually been a credible, good artist. You know, I did decent stuff before that. You know, I was a solid artist, as you will, if you, you know, I could do clean lines and decent shading. I couldn't do a portrait. I couldn't do freehand. You know, nowadays that's stuff that I do, but I still learned that from almost a handful of different people. As much as I was there for kind of Natalie's apprenticeship, she was really there for the good Syrah. You know, I wasn't a very good artist before then. So you got to learn from everybody that you can. Anybody walking into you. I think even after you get a good apprenticeship, you're always going to have more mentors. You know, I've got a mentor for just portraits. This dude just did portraits, and that's who taught me how to do them. You know, there's another guy who taught me how to do really, really soft, light shading, which the other portrait guy didn't have that. You know, he didn't have the same kind of shading knowledge. So to mix the two together really, you know, expanded what I can do. But yeah, I think I'm the only one who just kind of wang it and just saw it happen. And
That's
now we're here. Yeah. Now we're
I winged
doing
it for a while. I winged it for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Winging's
So,
the fun part.
question then, since we're on the subject of learning, do you guys think you'll ever stop?
Oh no. I'm
I
actually
won't.
I'm actually hoping that when Amber takes classes for PMU, that maybe she'll learn something that she can tell me. And I think it's also cool because she's about to go take a structured class. Like, could you imagine if your apprenticeship was a structured class? Would you have learned more or less?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
About that, Scotty, did they ever have any tattoo schools in your area?
not that I know of.
No? Killer, do you remember the tattoo schools out here? I don't even know if they're still around.
I remember one of them. Yeah, out there.
Yeah, they had them. They were like freak, but they were puppy mills. They would just take $3,000 from these dudes and then have them tattooing within a week. They'd give them a certificate. They'd go to a shop and these owners would laugh them out the door. Like, that's not a real thing. You guys got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How bad for those.
but yeah, if you could get a good setup with tattooing, schooling I think could really be a beneficial thing. I know I heard that, I don't know if it's Europe or something, but they've got actual college courses for tattooing out there.
Oh wow.
Like they've got these freaking like college courses and classes you got to do, like it's the whole nine. You get a certificate and everything. But that's a legit certificate. That's like the history. That's the whole nine. But that's the closest we have, and that's not even in our country.
Let me say something
Back.
before I forget. There was 'cause I didn't want to drag out things, and I just started remembering certain things.
No,
And
you're good.
some of the one of the things that pushed me into tattooing when I was younger in Colorado was I had a friend, and his name's David Montoya. I think you know him, Sarah.
Yeah. Yep.
And we went to school together. We were in the same graffiti crew. After high school, I didn't see him much. We didn't see much of each other. And I was at a movie theater. And so now that I'm starting to remember a lot more of this, the beginnings of what kind of drove me to find this shop was when I was at a movie theater in the line. He had pulled up with a friend, right? And he was like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing? What have you been up to?" And I think at that point I was doing drywall. So I was doing construction, and I was like, "Oh, I'm construction, just doing what pays the bills. Got a daughter, so I had a family." And he's like, "What?" He goes, "Oh, you got to come down and check out what I'm doing." I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" So he has this big dude with him, and he tells this guy to turn around and pull his shirt up. This guy's back had this. It was like a naked woman, but she was in a lake. But behind her was like planets, and comets, and shit. I was like, I ain't never seen no tattoos like that, right? And this is late '90s, if I'm correct, like '97, I think '98. But it blew me away. So he was like, "Why don't you come down to where I'm at and check out the shop and hang out?" They weren't doing apprenticeships at the time, but I remember he was like, "If you like this, you should go check out your apprenticeship." And I went down there probably like a week later to the shop that he was at, and that was it. That was it. I fell in love with the shit. I wanted to do it for real because at the time you do it here and there on your buddies in high school and little poke and scratch shit, right? Especially when you're hanging out with graffiti artists and other street artists. So that was never a reality for me. But when I went and watched him, I was like, "Holy shit, this is what I need to be doing." And so that's when I went and searched out, started talking to folks, and they're like, "Oh, you got to start over here at this shop. Check these cats out." And so so that was the beginning. So he kind of drove me to get into a shop out in Colorado. And then when I was trying to learn more and bigger things, I think the other person in my life was Suasulape Freewind, which he's an artist from California. And he kind of pushed me to do other things, kind of take that next step on being a professional. When I kind of was already in Colorado scene, then I went out to California down the road. But yeah, so that's just little details on how I got into really tattooing that I was just starting to remember.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's such a it's so crazy how different everyone's story is, kind of how they got brought into tattooing, and how they got into the. Who wants to go next on shop etiquette? Actually, let's do Scotty. Because you got home base, you got the new shop.
So
What's your take on etiquette?
so our shop, like, we try to keep like very like clean uppity, like family friendly, especially with her piercing like younger kids and stuff like that. Um, and sometimes it's hard. And I say that because, like, dude, man, I've been doing this for so long, and I when it comes down to it, I'm kind of like old school. I'm like, when I learned how to tattoo, you couldn't go in a tattoo shop. The windows were blacked out. If you weren't 18, you couldn't go in. That's just all there was to it. You know what I mean? And now, so like, we're trying to add the family friendly thing to something that in my brain was like an 18 or older type of deal when I grew up. Like, it's hard because like kids will come in and I have to remember like not to like curse and be too crazy. But in the back of my head, like any other time, I'm just like, you're in a tattoo shop. Like, what do you expect in here? Like, trying to play like today's hits, so it would play a little bit of everything. And like, we're from an area. I don't listen to like a lot of country. I don't listen to country music at all. I don't. But like everybody in our area does. So like, I put on stuff that I don't even listen to, so that to make people comfortable. And dude, like, it's funny we're on the topic of etiquette because, like, I've worked for some crazy son of bitches, like, some crazy people. Like, that, I've worked for people that had great etiquette in the shops, and I've worked for some people that were just like, oh my god. And, I don't know, like, I've seen, I've seen it all. The good, the bad, the ugly, and, so I guess it's like a constant reminder. But on the same note, sometimes it's just like, sometimes it's hard. We're like pirates, you know what I mean? It's hard to tone ourselves down and be like, people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's why I really enjoy the convention circuit, because you can be loud. You're definitely gonna run into these weirdos. You're definitely gonna run into something crazy happening. I mean, not like crazy, but it's a tattoo convention. People are gonna look nuts, and it's it becomes a crazy time. And since you were gone for a moment, do you want to talk about etiquette or shops? Are you
Etiquette,
Brian, or
because I think etiquette has a lot of there's a lot of places where etiquette comes into place, like etiquette as a piercer. Are we talking bedside manner? As a tattoo artist, or there's like some shops have front desk and front counter help. Like I know Killa's got experience with like front desk girls. So I think shop etiquette all around is kind of loaded. More of like a step-by-step process. What's your etiquette when you're checking someone in? What's your etiquette when you're actively working on someone? And even etiquette as they walk out the door. I mean, you can do a beautiful, amazing piece of artwork on somebody, but if you don't give them aftercare and you don't tell them how to take care of it, what was the point of all of it?
yeah,
because it's not just the procedure; it's the send home. I mean, shoot, I think I've gotten a million questions from people I never tattooed that message me like, "Hey, how do I take care of my tattoo? My artist didn't tell me."
yeah.
It always annoys me, but it's like, yes, Miss Nat.
That raises like another question, like even etiquette outside of the shop. How far do you guys take it when you give someone your personal information? Because all of my
Ooh,
clientele leaves the shop with my personal phone number. But you can bet if you're texting
ooh.
at 2 in the morning with something that definitely could have waited till the morning, how do you handle that?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Kill it. Let's go to you. How do you handle being bugged by clients, or not even being bugged, but
Being
being
bugged.
asked, being
Being bugged.
asked after work hours? You know what I mean? You're home, you're sleeping, you're watching a movie.
Or how
What is
far do you
your
take it, like when giving clients your info and stuff like that?
I think my number's out there really. I think when I was younger, I did. If somebody did happen to like text me or call me late, I'd get irritated. I think now I try to, if I'm up not doing shit and it might be 12:30 at night, I just answer them back and, you know, smiley face, thumbs up. But I think that's a better way to handle it from my end. And I think a lot of people can adapt that into like just how they use their own care with their clients. When I was younger, I was a little more aggressive. I was a little more full of fire. So I would be like, oh, fuck that, you know, and I didn't want to deal with none of that shit. Now I don't mind doing that little text, doing that little smiley face, and is there anything else I can help you with? If not, you know, have a good evening, take care, you know. That's it.
Do you think like a lot is expected out of us beyond?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, 100%. I think we as artists, as not even just artists. Let's take art out of the whole freaking.
But we're not.
Wait,
I'm not a doctor or a dermatologist either.
We're not,
No.
but I personally think that you still need to know that though. I love that.
But that's one of those things I feel like we're constantly learning.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah,
Well, that's the old school stuff. We were never taught. We were just taught ink goes in, needle makes it work. Here's your machine. Let's build it. Nowadays, we gotta know. Like Nat has seen, man. Artists don't know what to do when someone passes out. I think that is my biggest pet peeve. Is that a lot of artists do not know what to do when a client passes out. It's like, how do you have to know what's going on. You have to know how to address it. Because I've seen people just deer in the head like, lay them down, get them some water. There's a process, you know. But that's where I feel that exactly. It's part of our job, not only as artists, but let's be real, we are surgically changing somebody's body forever. It's a permanent change. So we've at least got to know a little bit of what we're doing, why it's happening, you know, why the skin reacts like this, why did you pass out, you know, fight or flight moments, which that alone we could have a whole freaking conversation on itself. But I think that we do have a duty to know these things. I think we do have a duty to learn these things. I'm not saying go and get a nursing class. I'm not saying go, you know, above and beyond, but maybe Google a few things, maybe look some things up, you know.
Understand the skin more, you know, shit like that. I think.
Well, I like another thing is like when say you come get lettering, I'm gonna have you write down whatever you want exactly the way you want it spelled because I didn't go to school for grammar.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I have them spell it for sure.
But I'm expected to know these things, like you know what I mean, and like how to spell Francesca and yeah, I don't. Yes.
See, now that I agree with. That I think sometimes they do overlook. But at those points, you got to be honest. Hey, I don't know kanji. I don't know if your Chinese words say what you want it to say. So
yeah.
I don't.
You know, I'll do a little research, but I want them to spell the shit out. I want them to write it out.
Yeah. But I'm just getting at little things. You know what I mean? Like the little things that are expected out of us. Like there's a lot of expectations.
Yeah. There is, and that is true, and I guess I should add to that because it is a little heavy-handed to say that I want to learn more about the skin and body. Yet I am not going to go back to school to learn how to spell or read better. I'm not. You're not going to give me. It didn't work the first 4 years. It ain't going to work the next 8. Okay.
First of all, you went for like half of one.
I tried the first year. It didn't work out. Okay. We mutually didn't like each other. It was okay.
Can we do a quick story time?
Can I do a quick time?
Does anyone have any misspelled tattoos, or have you ever misspelled a tattoo?
I have done one.
I have one.
I have one.
I've got my. It's supposed to say chosen to be king, but it says choosing. 2 O's. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't have
sat
mine
there for
anymore.
a good 20 minutes.
I covered mine up, but it was an American Wasteland skateboard, and it didn't have the I, and so it just said American.
American.
I like bad tattoos. I keep winning trophies for them.
Oh, dude.
I got a whole arm of them.
There's a few of them.
I got
Tyler,
the
do you have any misspelled tattoos? I know you got a lot of words on you.
I don't think I do.
You just
Not
don't know
that
how
I
to
check.
spell them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just can't spell.
Hey, it took a year for me to realize mine was spelled wrong.
Damn. I'm going to have to double
Tyler,
check.
have you ever seen anyone's reaction to seeing their tattoo is misspelled?
No, I have not.
I know someone who will not be named who has their last name tattooed on them and it's misspelled, and it's so funny
He'll never live it down.
because it's someone related to me. So it's my last name that's misspelled.
Nice.
And he is ready to fight about it.
It's the best.
Can I bring up a pet peeve?
Yeah, you can. Heck yeah, you can. Give us peeves of the pets.
So, people need to put gloves on and not bare finger the fucking ink bottles.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
The tops, right?
Yeah, they put their fucking finger, bare ass finger, after doing this and doing this, and touching the chair and remote controlling, and they go sit down. It's like you just contaminated that whole goddamn bottle, bro. Now that's your bottle.
Yeah, that belongs to you now.
What is
That's
a
your
glove?
cup.
Fucking hate that. Put a glove on. Bam. Whole shop full of gloves. Grab one. Grab two.
Got them everywhere. You know what? My biggest thing is I even with the glove on, I'll always use a paper towel.
Yeah,
A brand new one. Brand new paper towel, fold it up, put it on top, shake it up. But I do that a lot of times because it's like every ink bottle I get, the top just never closes all the way or something. It just never.
You just gotta check it out. You just gotta check it.
So that just helps to prevent any of that little leaking. But
sometimes I'm so scared to get it dirty, I don't even grab the bottle. I just shake my. But that's a huge pet peeve. I don't like that.
Yeah,
so does that count as shop etiquette?
Yes.
Cleanliness?
The etiquette. You should know this. You should. Doesn't matter what shop you go to. You should know not to do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Or that's just an old man to me. I don't know, but don't do it.
Yeah, Scotty.
My pet peeve would be politics in the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
You just never know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah,
You know?
like
Have you ever had a client where you kind of on the same path and then it just goes left? And like, oh shoot! Yeah,
I've worked with other tattoo artists that like to start conversations about politics and then go left or just go right and then just like and it's just like, yo, you need to stop, dude. You need to just don't even bring it up. Like just
There's shop owners that I've had to work with that do that, and they'll just every day, all day, and then they're usually the biggest hypocrites at the end of it all. But
right,
we ain't saying anything about anybody.
Speaking of apprenticeship.
Yeah, speaking of apprenticeship, but there just goes so much with shop etiquette. But that's even goes back to apprenticeships. You know, back in the day, you were taught shop etiquette, but it was more in like a beating, yelling kind of. Oh, you didn't put a glove on while shaking your ink, like you could get physically beaten or locked in the closet or freaking you got to go wash their car or. You know, yeah, they'll take your machine apart and now you got to fix it. Like they won't let you touch a machine for 6 months. Like that's how you learned the etiquette back in the day, was because you were afraid you were going to get beat. You were going to get yelled at. Or lose your apprenticeship. I've seen dudes lose their whole, like, no, get out the shop. Don't come back. You messed up. Like you should have known not to do that.
You learn things from other artists as well, you know, when you go into a new shop. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
you're kind of young and they're like, hey, don't do that because it's going to piss these guys off. And then they're like, why? And then you sit down and kind of explain, like, okay, this is kind of what's going on. And it doesn't matter whether you're here or another shop. You behave this way, those other guys are going to let you know. But they might be a little more in your face and shitty, right? A little more old school. Yeah. So I'm just talking to you to say, hey, This is how it's done. Instead of putting this here, put this here. Instead of doing this, do that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. You know, and then, you know, do your tattoo. Have a good day, bro. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Just giving you a heads up so that way it's an etiquette that you learn here, but it's kind of universal, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 100%.
So
Yes.
with all these traveling artists in here, how does it? What is your best approach when navigating a guest spot? When this isn't necessarily shop etiquette, you have to learn newly, but maybe this clientele is a little bit different than what you're used to, or they just kind of do things a little bit differently. They just clean things a little bit differently, not worse or better, but just differently.
Right. For me, I think what I've learned is I try to kind of scope out what's going on. You know, most shops will tell you, okay, do this, do that, and then they'll kind of stop and expect you to know things. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes there's just a couple things in that shop that's a little bit different. So you just kind of do the shit you know without stepping on anybody's toes or fucking up. And then if you do something that's out of whack or you haven't learned, hopefully somebody comes and says, hey, bro, you know, don't do that. Here's why. And then that's that. You know what I'm saying? And then I just learned something new, but none of my other shit bothered them. Why? Because it's probably pretty universal how I set up, how I handle my client, how I sit here and draw, how I'm not taking up fucking the copier space or whatever some people get pissed off about, right? You just kind of learn things as you get older, and then as now I'm at my age, I just kind of learn faster, like what's going on around here. You know, I really try to observe, listen to what's going on. Oh, we do this, we don't do that, we do this, and here's this, and here's that. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And then you talk to other artists, hey, bro, what's going on? Should I put this here? And then they'll say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Or they'll kind of fucking help you out. If they don't, whatever, you'll figure it out, you know. But
Yeah.
I think it's just an etiquette thing you got to learn as you go. You learn from other artists. You just learn the business and you learn those unwritten rules.
Yeah, definitely. Scotty, what's your take on it?
So I like my biggest like leap of guest spotting would be when I went to Alaska. And I mean, dude, like I flew across the country. We went to from Pennsylvania to Seattle, which was about 5.5 hours, and then another 5 from Seattle to Fairbanks. And like, dude, I've never met these people. I have no idea what this shop looks like. I've never even been to Alaska. I have no idea what I'm walking into, like whatsoever. And I was so scared that like I was gonna do something like I don't know. I was gonna misplace something, do something wrong. Just everything was so crazy. By the time I got in there, uh, I got to the shop. I was like, "Hey, I'm Scotty. What's up?" They're like, "Cool. You want a tattoo?" I'm like, "Yeah." Dude, I was tattooing within minutes after being there, and it was
Nice.
it was a wild experience because like when it came to etiquette, because like I just kept my nose down and I had to feel out like everybody else's vibes.
Right.
Because like I didn't know these people, I didn't know where I was at, I didn't know anything. But at this point, I never did a convention, and so I feel like it'd be different at this point because now I have all these conventions under my belt that the next time I show up to somewhere and I don't know anybody or anything, and I'm just like thrown into the mix, that it'll just be like another setting up like a booth and just doing my thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was wild. It was crazy.
And shop etiquette and convention etiquette are two completely different things.
Absolutely.
And it's
I've only been around you guys at conventions. I've never seen you guys in a shop.
Are we different? I don't know if we're different. Killer. I think would. Well, I don't know. I guess we're all.
I think we're
definitely different.
I think we're a little more
versus shops. I think the mannerisms in which we deal with clientele, like our friendliness, our attitudes is pretty much the same, but you have so many other surrounding factors when you're at a convention. You have the open space, you have the lighting, the loud music. 9 times out of 10, the booth behind you is playing a different loud music than what's going on over the speakers, and then you have 2 tattoo artists fighting 2 rows over. So I think when actively doing the service, our mannerisms are a little bit different, but the way in which we talk to people and we make them feel can be pretty similar.
Yeah, I can
Gotta
agree to
animal
that.
up a little
Pretty
bit.
much. Huh?
So you got to animal up a little bit.
You have to toughen up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little. I mean, there's a lot of. It's definitely. I like the crowd. It's like our community, our people. But there's so much different personalities and vibes and behaviors, and themes and attitudes and all this stuff you have to deal with. And so if you can just toughen up a little bit and understand what's going on and have a good time, you'll be fine. Everybody's pretty nice there. The conventions I've been to, especially with Natalie and Sarah, I've had nothing but good time. And there's been people that talk to us, and Sarah and Natalie, they're little chatterbugs, so they make friends. There's just all kinds of cool folks at these things, but you have to be aware there's also a lot of attitude and little weird nuances in groups and shit that go to these things as well.
Yeah. One, and I think that's the other thing with back to kind of the etiquette is booth etiquette. Neighbor. It's a different neighborly kind of love. Like you've got your who left?
Oh, Killa.
There he is. You bet. But yeah, like there's different neighbor. Like you've got your booth neighbor at the shop that you see every day, and then you've got these guys that you're just gonna see for 3 days, and that's it. The cool thing that I usually like about conventions is because we're so nice. Usually our neighbors are really nice, and if we need something, usually someone's like, "Oh no, here's this," or "I can help out with this." I think it was when we were in Golden State, where we were running out of paper towels. Like nobody had paper towels, so we're all running around to find them. I went down to 2 different booths. They were looking for paper towels. I finally was able to get some at Solon, and our homie Hoon over there hooked it up with some paper towels. But being able to kind of go and ask these other booths and other things, and we always take more than we need, so we were always helping other people out too. But that's just, again, good etiquette. That's love thy neighbor. That's help your people. But I also even feel like conventions are more they're almost more friendly than like local tattoo shops. You know what I mean? Like if you don't work for my shop, we're not cool. And there's like a gang stigma that almost goes with regular tattoo shops. But when you're in the convention setting, you almost become like a family, a group. They almost look out for each other. Almost, we may not know each other, but if you're an artist, we're gonna look out for each other.
It's our community, right? So
yeah,
we kind of look out for each other, even though we're all a little different, and we're taught from those old ways, like fuck that shop. Even though they're from down the way, it's like fuck those guys. But nowadays, you can't be like that. It's a community that you have to protect. It's a community we have to build. There's some of these kids that they just don't know certain things. So we don't teach them certain things. So when they do go to these conventions, they do go over here and do this and that, there is an understanding, and they're like, oh, I had a great time at this convention. I met these cats and I met these folks, and it wasn't weird, and I didn't have to be like, fuck those guys and walk past them and shit. Be like, hey, I like what you're doing. Let me check out your art. Let me check out let me see your stickers. Let me see your book, shit like that. And I think that's better for the all-around community and artists anyway, when you're in these conventions and you're traveling. It's just better than the old street shop vibe where, you don't like this guy, you're not supposed to like this guy for whatever fucking reason because they're making money or whatever. I think it's a different era to where you get to break those walls down in these conventions, and it helps.
Yeah. One, and I think that even rolls back into earlier about different mentors and different learning from different people. We're kind of strailing on the convention kind of path right now, but etiquette just rolls into the one thing that I've learned, and kind of like Killer said, me and Natalie, we're just chatty Cathy's, man. We're chatterboxes. We'll talk to anybody, anywhere, at any time because that is our brand. That is what we do. We love to hear ourselves talk. It's one of my favorite things to do. But with that, man, you got to go and ask people. Like, if there's an artist that you really like, or if there's an artist that does a style that you really like, you got to go and ask them and say, hey, you know, how do you do that? Or do you mind if I sit and watch you? And 9 times out of 10, a lot of guys are going to be really nice. But the etiquette, if they've got headphones in and they look like they're deep into that tattoo, probably shouldn't talk to them. Let them do their thing. But don't be afraid to ask. I see so many young artists not asking, just being so timid and so quiet and just so, well, maybe. No, I'm not going to go talk to him. No. You got to. Shoot, me and Scotty ran up to a dude we thought was an ink master, and it wasn't. And we took a picture with him.
Yeah.
I still talk to him.
Run into him.
We probably made
still run
his
into
day
him,
though.
Scotty. Oh, heck yeah, we did. But like,
Really?
it was an embarrassing moment, but we made a friend. Like, I still talk to homie. He'll message me every so often on Instagram. Like, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But it was just a stoner freaking moment. We were so high.
Nick.
That's actually happened multiple times with Sarah. Not necessarily with Ink Master, but he just thinks someone is super famous.
Not even just famous. Do you remember when I saw Rito in Missouri or something like that?
No, I don't remember that time. I was thinking about the time we were in Lancaster and you thought some guy was like a pro wrestler or something.
He had the belt and everything, though, okay? I wasn't far off from that. Don't you give me that crap.
Oh, and then he
had
asked
the belt,
why
the
you carry
hair.
around the belt, and the guy's like, I just like carrying around the belt. That's it.
Yeah. Who does that? Yeah. Same homie. Still talk to him.
Yeah.
He actually messaged me the other day asking how he could be on the pro team, and I left him on red. Not on purpose. There's a lot going on yesterday.
Fair.
So
Fair enough.
But yeah, you just, that's how I met Phlox. That's how, we got connected with Bishop, Solon. Like, you just gotta go talk to these people. They're really cool people. Even meeting what's his name? The dude that says fuck Scotty Morgan. I always forget his
John
name.
Nelson.
John Nelson. I call him Jug Nelson all the time. But even with him, freaking nicest dude in the world. But he looks like a jerk in all of his videos. But, you would have never known he was such a nice guy, if you don't go and talk to him. So you always got to be open to learn and conversate and, know when to do it. Which is always a hard thing, because I've gone up to people and they've been like, oh, no, you can't watch. No, I don't like people over my shoulder. At that point, it's like, hey, my bad. I'm walking away. But, yeah. Convention etiquette.
You can watch me. You can watch me if you want.
Yeah.
I don't
Julie,
care.
can I pierce your ear?
They're pierced. Claire's.
Rude as hell.
Man.
I don't know. I'd have to find something cool. Cool ass piece of jewelry.
I'll find
She's just gonna walk past you one day and she's just gonna.
I'm gonna blow dart him.
What's your guys' favorite black to use?
Allegory. 100%.
Allegory.
All the way. And not like the new Allegory, like Ultra Black. Like, I feel like there's no difference.
Regular Allegory.
Yeah, just simple, easy. You know what I do gotta say, though? Is I used to really like Dynamic. I don't know what Dynamic did, but it feels like their pigment would be blotchy when I would try to do really, really soft, light tones. But when I tried Allegory with my same, because my shading method is all black, half cup of black, and then like 5 drops of black, and then fill the rest up with witch hazel on all of them, except for the solid black. And that mixture is what I've used for years. It used to work with Dynamic, and then at some point, for like a year and a half, everything came back like blotchy. And then I switched to Allegory, and everything's been smooth ever since. So I don't know if you guys have seen a difference in Dynamic. I kind of, since the topic got brought up.
Yeah,
I've been using Allegory for a while.
I've always used dynamic, but it has changed. Something's changed. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it goes in different, heals different. And you turned me on the allegory a couple years ago, so I've been using it since. I'll use the dynamic, like if I'm really gonna do some polytribal, I'll pack that in there because I think that it just seems to pack better when it's black, and instead of trying to do different tones, you know, for whatever reason the formula is slightly different. The tones seem to be harder to come up with for me versus how I always have done them. And then now when I try to lay it out or shade, it's like, why is it, going in different? You try a few different things, and it's like, no, it's still kind of going in different. Then you watch it heal, and it's like, okay, now it's healing a little different, like a little, like you said, a little spotchy, a little lighter where it was really dark, and then it just takes one heal session, boom, it seems like a lighter tone. A lot of it's kicked out. And it shouldn't have, right? It shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Allegory seems, since I've used it, I like it. I just like the way it goes in. I like the way it shades. The healing stays pretty black. I like the way it stays pretty black as it heals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite part of it, and it's just it's. I feel like the shades and the transfers are just really smooth with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's allegory. It's a nice one. Nat, just because we've kind of gone all about tattoos, what is your take? Because Claire's got brought up. What is your take on like cheap jewelry, Amazon, and even just Claire's in general?
It's kind of a hard question. I mean, obviously, don't take your freaking babies to Claire's. There's, at this point, I don't think there's an excuse for it. There is no, I didn't know. There is no, like, the information is everywhere. I think very, very, very few people can get away with saying, I didn't know Claire's was a bad place. That information is everywhere. If they're doing it for $5, you really not understand the grasp of, like, you get what you pay for. Because Claire's does it, Five Below does it, Walmart does it. And I do understand that, it was back in the day, that's just what you did. And I know that even doctors' offices also use the piercing guns to pierce babies' ears. As far as like Amazon and cheap jewelry go, I have kind of a weird opinion on it. If your piercing's fully healed and you've gone through your entire healing process and you have no metal allergies, I'm not going to sit here and try and like convince you to spend all the money in the world on fancy jewelry when that's your body, that's your choice. If that's what you want to pay for it, that's what you pay for it. I think it really all comes down to you pay for what you get. But I had a situation today where someone was asking me, he called them frat boy earrings, but they're like the earring cuffs, and they have usually like dangly crosses. Black, like solid black, and I don't have a company that makes those specific ones. I have a company that can make something like it in like solid gold, and that's going to be pretty pricey for something of that nature. So I told him, I was like, no, I don't have anything like that. And if this gold is going to be out of your budget, if the piercing's fully healed, it shouldn't affect you too much if you don't have any allergies to it. Just know it's not meant to be worn in the body for a very long time.
Forever.
Forever.
No, because I think most of us here have probably had an experience with some cheap jewelry. Even if it's not body jewelry, turns your neck green or your fingers green, or you get super, super itchy, you break out in a rash. So it's, if you only paid $5 for that piece, are you really disappointed in it?
Yeah.
Right. True. Well, I think that's a lesson for all things. You just get what you pay for.
You paid $5 for it. You begged.
Yeah, you're good. Go pay another $5 and you get another one. You're fine.
Going for an initial piercing, I can sit here and make the argument to you all day long on why you should pay for it. It's worth it. In the end, the money is worth it because you're going to be paying a lot less trying to fix the piercing. If you end up in the hospital with infections or you have to get on antibiotics, it's going to be a lot freaking cheaper than if you just pay me $80 now.
Yeah, dum-dums.
Yeah. Well, and that's what people pay for. The knowledge of knowing the right materials, the right way to do it.
I do the research so you don't have to.
Yeah.
That's true.
Except for learning how to read and spell.
Educate someone, but ultimately it's up to you at that point.
Yeah.
I have a very not well-liked opinion in the piercing industry, in that I don't care if you pierce your baby's ears. I don't think it's going to cause the baby long-term mental health effects. I don't think the baby's going to have to go to therapy because you pierced their ears too young and they didn't get an opinion about it. It's kind of a controversial opinion. If I liked piercing babies, I absolutely would. I just can't do it because I don't like making them cry, and it makes me feel like a bad person.
I said pierce them babies. They look fresh.
What?
I won't say anything about your parenting. If you want to get your baby's ears pierced, because I know my baby would have their ears pierced. And I'll pierce friends' babies if I know I know this baby. I'll pierce that baby. But it's a parenting decision. Lots of piercers love to ridicule parents over bodily autonomy, and I'm like, it's kind of extreme, don't you think? Like, I don't think the baby's gonna have to go to therapy over getting their ears pierced. Don't get me wrong; other things can happen, like they grow lopsided. That's a choice you have to make.
Right, and that's why you go to the right person. If you get it done right, I mean, you plan it right.
Yeah.
Tyler, is your baby's ears pierced?
No, do you want to do it?
Will you let me?
Sure.
I haven't pierced a baby's ears in a very long time. Don't let me do it. Oh, he would look so cool with a septum piercing. I pierced his eyebrow, but he doesn't have any.
Wouldn't that suck to pierce it, and then when it grows in, it's like up here? Down there. It's like it grows around it on purpose.
It's up here now.
That's awesome. Yeah, crazy that Five Below started doing piercings. I think that is. I mean, it was an inevitability. I think it was going to happen, but dang, okay, them kids working them front counters. Yeah,
yeah. I haven't done too much research into it, but you guys were talking about Scotty had a word for it, but I can't remember. Like organized learning, almost like classes to tattooing schools.
Yeah,
like a structured class.
Yeah, structured learning.
Yeah.
They say that they're starting to do that for Claire's, and that there's a lot of mall kiosks out there that's going to be offering needle piercing. And I haven't paid a lot of attention to it because it's been just kind of stupid. But that's something that's going around, is this new structured learning in piercing for these piercing pagodas or these kiosks. And I just think it's funny.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think it almost...
What you can't learn, what you won't be able to learn as a piercer or a tattoo artist in this structured learning, is things like bedside manner and etiquette. You won't be able to learn how different people react to different things in these structured learning environments.
Or what to do if someone passes out.
Exactly. You can try and prepare someone as much as possible for a fainting, but until you see that in your chair for the first time, you're not gonna know how to act.
Yeah. Well, and how many people who work at Claire's are there for 10 years,
right.
5 years? Most of them last maybe a year, maybe 3.
Right.
That's not enough to consider yourself a professional piercer or even having that full knowledge.
You're a retail worker.
At the mall, that's just not the cleanliness just isn't there. I think even if you were to bring in the proper tools, where are you going to put a stereocycle? Where are you going to be able to put this person to lay them down properly if something happens, or to be able to get them to a quiet room with some water so they can feel better. You're in the middle of a mall. That ain't gonna happen. You gotta go run down to the little sugar shack down the way.
Gotta give them candies.
The candies.
Little juice.
Little juice.
Pat they back. You okay? You fine. Let's take a minute. We're gonna be all right. And then they're good, and you just finish up. Some people I watched. This one young lady was tattooing, and there was a couple females in the room, and their client puked. Just stopped and puked everywhere, and it was like doing all this, and they were like, "Oh my god!" and all this shit. So after the fact, the artist came and talked to me, and she was like, "How did you just sit there?" She goes, "You just sat there like nothing." She goes, "That was so fucking crazy." And I was like, "Well, just got to be professional." I said, "Because you don't want to make them feel any more weird or stupid or uncomfortable or embarrassed than they already are, because they just got sick in front of everybody, right?" And so she was like, "Oh, yeah, that's true." And I was like, "You guys are hooting and hollering, freaking out." And I said, "You probably made her feel a little more embarrassed than you needed to." I said, "So I wasn't going to add to that, because I've been through all that before. You just clean it up, take care of them, give them a minute, and go on about the tattoo."
Yeah, well, that's the easiest part. I think it's always when they have a group of friends. It's wild. Scotty, have you had any crazy like pass out scenarios, or someone getting sick or anything like that?
I had a dude pass out, start seizing, pee his pants, all of it,
Nice.
right in the middle of the tattoo. It was a tiny little tattoo too, and
You just put it on him.
Oh, I think this is a good education moment too. Because we've all seen a multitude of pass outs. There's always a difference too between the someone just went down and blacked out for a second versus someone goes down, they start convulsing, and they have that loud groan that comes from them. That is always so much more of a scary pass out than just they blacked out for a second.
Yeah, that lockup, man. They start
Oh my god.
Queen Latifah.
The one I had pass out last week, she started convulsing like in my arms, and I was like, "Oh fuck, fuck, fuck."
Yeah.
It's scary. It's terrifying. I didn't know what to do.
Because
I really,
second, like the convulsing is very normal. It happens when they pass out. It's when the body just locks up. But it's a split second between that. Is this convulsions or is this a seizure? That has to be a split second decision that you make. And it's really hard to not dramatize it, because like when they're convulsing, you're like, are they having a seizure? Or are they convulsing? But then you see a seizure and you're like, that's a fucking seizure.
Yeah.
You gotta watch their keep track of them. Don't let them flop on the floor.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, regardless, as soon as they start locking like that, the worst thing to do is like, because especially when they have like friends and family, they want to run and just freaking grab them and hold them and like stop them. It's like, don't do that, because it may be a split second like that, but their muscles are shooting off so quickly that if you're holding them just right, it'll break their own bone. It'll snap something. So you just want to hold them lightly and let them do if you have to hold them. If they're on a table safely, lean them as far back as possible, get them flat, because what's happening is your body's going into fight or flight scenario. So what it wants to do is protecting the heart. It says, screw the brain, screw your arms, screw your legs. All my blood and everything needs to make sure my heart is protected right now. So you're passing out and you're falling, you lay them flat, gravity does its thing, levels the blood out, and then it helps bring them back. Yeah, don't bear hug.
bear hug.
Listen, put him in a chokehold.
No, I'll stab you.
I'll stab you.
Yeah, but it's knowing that little stuff. You know, you always want to make sure you are the more relaxed, prepared in the room.